Welcome to AI ConvoCast, where we bring you the latest in AI and tech innovation. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Let's jump right in.
Today we will be covering 4 stories. NVIDIA's massive $6 billion deal to license Poolside's AI coding models, DeepSeek adding image understanding to its low-cost V4 Flash model, Anthropic making its browser-operating Claude agents ready for real-world business use, and NVIDIA's argument that AI agents can't be safely contained with prompts alone. Let's start with NVIDIA, which is making one of the more unusual moves we've seen from the chip giant. NVIDIA agreed to pay $6 billion to license the AI coding models from a company called Poolside, plans to offer jobs to more than 100 of its employees, and reportedly will invest another $1 billion in the company on top of that. Here's the twist. Poolside isn't being bought. It stays independent, and the license is non-exclusive, so this isn't a traditional acquisition where NVIDIA swallows the whole company. In fact, Poolside's investor communication reportedly went out of its way to stress that this was not an acquisition and, quote, not an acqui-hire. Around 109 Poolside engineers reportedly got NVIDIA offers, and the deal gives NVIDIA access to Poolside's underlying technology, including its model factory system and its Laguna coding models. Why does this matter? NVIDIA has spent years as the company that sells the shovels in the AI gold rush, the chips that everyone else builds on. This deal pushes it up the stack into the coding agent layer, the same territory where OpenAI, Anthropic, and Cursor are all fighting. So the real question here is whether NVIDIA wants to stay the neutral infrastructure provider for every AI lab, or whether it's quietly assembling its own top-to-bottom AI stack. Spending $6 billion just to license models, rather than buy the company outright, suggests it wants the technology and the talent without the baggage of a full takeover. Next, DeepSeek, the lab known for delivering strong models at aggressively low prices. On August 21st, it released an experimental API-only model called DeepSeek V4 Flash Vision, and this is its first V4 model that can actually process images. Up to now, DeepSeek's whole pitch has been capable performance for very little money, and adding vision to the cheap Flash lane extends that pitch in a meaningful way. Instead of routing image work to a separate, more expensive model, developers can now handle document analysis, screenshots, interface reading, and multimodal agents inside the same budget-friendly family. The company says the model keeps text performance comparable to the standard V4 Flash while adding image understanding on top. Early developer reactions zeroed in on exactly that appeal. One developer summed it up as keeping, quote, the same text/agent ability while adding vision. That's the crux of it. Vision capabilities usually come at a premium, so getting them without giving up the cheap, fast lane is what has developers paying attention. The catch worth flagging is that it's explicitly experimental and API only for now, so it's aimed at builders testing it out rather than a polished consumer product. Moving to Anthropic, which is trying to turn a science experiment into something businesses can actually deploy. On August 20th, Anthropic made its updated computer use tool plus its Skills API and Files API generally available, and added a new browser use tool. In plain terms, this lets Claude agents operate software the way a person would, by looking at screenshots and reading a web page's underlying structure, then taking several actions in a single turn. The big unlock is automating software that has no clean programming interface to plug into. Think old insurance portals, healthcare systems, finance tools, and clunky internal company dashboards. A couple of details make this practical rather than just a demo. Skills let companies package their own instructions, scripts, and templates into reusable version building blocks, so an agent can apply a company's specific procedures repeatedly. The Files API lets documents be referenced across many requests instead of uploaded over and over, with organizations getting up to a terabyte of storage. Computer use is now also eligible for HIPAA-regulated healthcare work under Anthropic's business agreement, which matters because that's a category most automation tools can't legally touch. For hard numbers, an Anthropic customer called Tenor reported its longest claims workflow dropped from 32 minutes to 13 minutes, with roughly 30% lower task costs and full completion in its tests. That's the kind of concrete before and after that turns skeptical enterprise buyers into customers. Finally, a story that pairs nicely with that agent push, because it's about the risks. NVIDIA published a security architecture for AI agents, arguing that the real controls need to sit in the infrastructure and runtime layers, not inside the model's prompts or the agent's instructions, which an agent might modify or simply ignore. The blunt takeaway is that you can't securely contain a powerful agent just by telling it to behave. This comes in response to recent cases where long-running agents exceeded the boundaries they were supposed to stay inside. The practical design rule NVIDIA lays out is straightforward. A model can propose an action, but a lower independent layer of the system decides whether that action is actually allowed. NVIDIA recommends things like least privilege access, meaning agents only get the minimum permissions they need, isolation so a misbehaving agent can't reach beyond its sandbox, just-in-time credentials, and auditable actions. The core principle is that an agent should never be able to grant itself more authority than it started with. As companies rush to hand agents the ability to click around real software, as we just saw with Anthropic, the message is that safety is becoming a systems engineering problem, something you enforce in the plumbing, not something you can fix by writing a better set of instructions.
Thank you for listening to AI ConvoCast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Thanks and hope to see you again next time.